Okay, so thank you for joining me for this webinar. We're going to cover some free assistive technology tools. When I started looking at this to put things together, I was like, man, how am I going to narrow this down and really focus in on some things because there's so much. So most of the things I'm going to talk to you about today are for students with reading and writing disabilities. So that was kind of the focus that I wanted to have. You guys both know me, but if you're watching this recorded webinar, my name is Jessica Broderick. I am an employee of ESU 13 in Scottsbluff, Nebraska. I am a speech language pathologist, but also have my degree in assistive technology as a specialist and my license in that as well. So that's why I'm talking to you about assistive tech kind of stuff. We will get started. There are basically two main things I wanted to look at, and those are some tools in Microsoft, so in like Word and PowerPoint and things like that, and Chrome. So I thought those would be two good ones to hit on because it seems like most of the schools that I work with have a laptop or something for students that are running Windows, or they're using a Chromebook and are working off of Google Chrome. So two kind of major divisions of what we'll be talking about today. Just as a reminder, this is being recorded, so Bill and Mandy, if you guys have student-specific questions or anything like that, please try to keep them as vague as possible to protect confidentiality. And I can stay on afterwards if there's more you guys want to discuss, or you both know how to get a hold of me if we want to discuss further specific students or anything like that. So the way I set this up is that I actually made videos on my computer showing you how to use some of these things and how to activate them or install them or whatever, because I thought that would be a more helpful way to just access what you wanted quickly instead of having to go back and go through this whole webinar. So basically the format for today is going to be, I'm going to talk about something and then show you a video that I made about it. And I put those all on YouTube, so at the end I will give you the links for all of those. So like I said, you can just go back and watch what it was you wanted or wanted to look at again instead of going back through the whole webinar. So hopefully that's an okay format. You guys will have to give me some feedback on that later. Okay, so Microsoft. Those are the first things I wanted to talk about. In Word and PowerPoint, I wanted to point out two different programs. One is called Speak and one is called Dictation. Speak is when the computer reads typed text to you. So that is a text-to-speech feature. This is actually something that is built in and comes with Word, but you just have to know how to like add it to your ribbon so you can find it. So this video will go over that. And then Dictation is just the opposite of that, and it's the speech translated to text. So if you have students who maybe don't have strong typing skills or motor impairments or something that way, you can use Dictation. This is not something that comes pre-installed with Word, so it's something you have to go on the internet and download, but it is for free, and you can get that from dictate.ms. So I will show you the video I made on that.
Microsoft Word and PowerPoint have two great features for students with reading and writing disabilities. The first one is Speak, which will read typed text out loud. So that's actually something that is built in to Microsoft Word. It's not something you have to download from somewhere else. You just have to find it and put it somewhere where you can easily use it. So I'll show you how to do that first. This is what it's going to look like, this little caption bubble with the play button. I already have mine there, but I'll show you how to get it there. Right up here on your ribbon, there is an arrow with a little line above it. If you click on that and go down to More Commands, you can choose what you put up in that ribbon. So you can choose commands from All Commands, and then you will just scroll down and find Speak. Here it is right here. And then click on the Add button. If I do that, it's going to tell me I already have it. But yours will add, and then click OK. And then all you have to do is highlight text and push that button and it will read it.
fourscore and 7 years ago our fathers brought forth on the...
That works the exact same way in Microsoft PowerPoint if you have students who are working on presentations. The other one I wanted to show you is dictation, and that's just the opposite. So that would be if a student is not able to type very well, they can dictate to the computer and it will type it for them. Dictate is not something that comes with Microsoft Word. It's an add-in. So you do have to download it, and you can get it for free at dictate.ms. And once you have that downloaded, here's how you add that. You go to File, Options, and then you choose Add-ins, and it will show up here. You can see mine is right there. And then down here where it says Manage Add-ins, click Go, and it will have you select which ones you're wanting to do. So I'm picking Word Dictate, and I tell it OK. Once you've done that, you might have to restart Word, might have to restart your computer, but from there it will appear up here in your ribbon here. So I can use this to do some speech-to-text kinds of things. I'll give you an example. Here is an example. You can see that that was typed right here. The other cool thing about Dictate is that it will translate. Of course, I caution you about using that, even though they're trying to get everything just right. Of course, there's always those things that might come up a little bit strange in a different language. But if I wanted to go from English to Spanish, for example, here's an example. And you can see it writes it in Spanish there. So two great options. Dictation works the same way in PowerPoint as it does in Microsoft Word.
Okay, so there is that video on Microsoft Word and PowerPoint Speak and Dictation. Do you guys have any questions or thoughts about that? No, that's fine. Okay, so like I said, reading and writing disabilities, those work in Word and PowerPoint. It also, if you have, I believe, works in Outlook. So if you were working with a student in Outlook for email that had reading or writing difficulties, those will work the same way for email as well. So there's an option for that. Microsoft OneNote is the next thing I wanted to talk to you guys about. This is something that I learned about at a big assistive technology conference last February. And I think it's awesome. There are a lot of great applications for kids with disabilities. Learning Tools is the add-in that you use for Microsoft OneNote. And again, that's not something that is built into OneNote, but it's something you can download for free. So if you go to this address here, onenote.com/learning-tools, you can get the Learning Tools add-in. So I will play this video for you guys.
This is a video on Microsoft OneNote. I was not that familiar with Microsoft OneNote until I attended a conference a few weeks ago, and I thought it had a lot of neat accessibility features that could be useful for students with disabilities. If you are not familiar with Microsoft OneNote, it's kind of like a locker almost. So within it, you can have different notebooks. You can see here that I have 2 different notebooks, so students might have those for different subjects. And then within each notebook, you can make tabs across the top, a lot like you would put tabs in a 3-ring notebook. And then within each tab, you can have different pages. So just for example here, I'm pretending this is my English notes, and we're talking about the writing process today. You can see I've labeled that, and we're talking about graphic organizers. So one of the nice features of OneNote is that you can type, draw, and insert pictures all in one spot. So maybe here's something the teacher said or wrote up on the board, and then the teacher drew an example. So students can draw right into these documents that they're making. So it's really easy for them to keep those things in the same spot as their written notes. You can also easily grab a picture from the internet, and all you have to do is copy it and paste it. So instead of having sheets with written notes and some sheets with some drawn notes, and maybe there was a computer handout or something like that. This allows you to just keep all of that in one place. So that's nice. One of the cool features of OneNote is that it has an immersive reader. And what that is a text-to-speech program. So for our students with learning disabilities in the area of reading, this is something that would allow them to have text read to them. You know, maybe they've taken their notes, but they aren't really able to read them back, or somebody sent them an email and they're not able to read it. Any kind of text you can copy and paste into OneNote will work with Immersive Reader. So you can see here I've just copied the Gettysburg Address from the internet, and I can go up here to Learning Tools and use their Immersive Reader. And you can see it changes that into something that can be read.
More than 7 years ago, our fathers brought forth on this continent a new nation.
So that's great for students with reading disabilities. You can also do a few different things with this text. You can change the size so it's smaller or larger. You can change the spacing. So if you have students who have an issue with too much visual information or visual cluttering, that might be an option for them. There's a serif and a sans serif font. And then there's also different backgrounds. So if you have a student who needs an inverted text, or maybe they read better with a colored background, you can add those things as well. You can have the program highlight nouns and verbs and adjectives. So that's a great way to do some self-check for their writing, maybe if you're working on parts of speech or something like that. It will also break apart larger words down into their syllables, if that would be helpful for a student. And then this comprehension feature highlights those verbs in red and then puts clauses in brackets. So if a student needs to maybe just get just the bare bones basic information, you can turn on that comprehension mode. You can also, of course, change the voice speed to be slower or faster. There's a male and a female voice, and you can get more voices from the internet. So that's really nice. Again, for any text, you can copy and paste into OneNote to have it read aloud to a student. OneNote can also read a picture clipped from the internet. So this would be useful if something cannot be easily highlighted, copied, and pasted. Sometimes PDFs, that doesn't always work. So if a student has something in a PDF format that they aren't able to copy and paste, there is a feature that OneNote has that can help with that. Here I just have up NDE Rule 51, the section about assistive technology devices, since this is an assistive technology training. And when you start OneNote, you'll also get a little toolbar down here, and I can do a screen clipping and just pick out what it is that I want to be read. And then it's going to ask me to put it in which notebook I want it, and again, which tab I want it. This one is reading a picture clip from the internet, and I send it to the selected location. Then if I go back to my notebook, here's that that I just copied. So it doesn't turn it into text, like I can't highlight that or edit that or whatever, but it just takes that picture clipping, and if I go to my immersive reader, it changes it again into the text that can be read. And again, you can do any of those comprehension features, you can do any of those reading features, any of that with that taken from the internet. One of the other cool features that Microsoft OneNote offers is that it will work with a program called Office Lens, which will take a picture of a piece of paper and format it so it can be read in OneNote with that immersive reader. So this would be great for a worksheet, for a test, anything like that. I just open my Office Lens here. There's me. I just have a piece of paper that I grabbed off my desk here. So I just get it in the camera there. And grab a picture of that. And then I can click on the save thing. I can again pick my location. And I'm in my accessibility demo notebook. I am reading a document with OneLens, and I tell it okay. It'll tell me that it's transferring, and then I can open it. So there's that picture I just took of that paper that I have. And again, learning tools, immersive reader.
More technology have made free-based reading services. In fact, not free at all.
So a lot of great options for students with reading disabilities. One of the other neat things about OneNote is that it has a narrate feature, a speech to text feature, so students have writing disabilities have some options as well. Again, that's in learning tools. I'm going to choose Dictate. This is a training about using Microsoft OneNote. So that's a great feature for students with writing disabilities. In addition to that, you can also insert an audio or video recording. This is a training about using Microsoft OneNote. And you can just play that right here.
This is a training about using Microsoft OneNote.
You can do the same thing with a video. This is a training about using Microsoft OneNote. And again, you can play that directly in the student's.
This is a training about using Microsoft OneNote.
So like I said in the beginning, I think there are a lot of neat accessibility features offered in Microsoft OneNote, and I hope you found something today that can help the students you work with.
Okay, so that is the OneNote training. I think that is super cool. Like, that's one of my favorite new things to tell people about. I love that you can put in audio or video recordings. So if you have students who like writing is just not going to work for them, you can put some of those pieces in there. One of the things that I didn't mention in that video is that you can share your notebooks. So if you were using this, say with students with disabilities for their English class, you as the teacher could have access to it, and then the student could have access to it, so you could go in and check their work or add things there for them to look at or study or whatever. So there are a lot of really cool features in OneNote. You guys have any questions or comments about that? No? Okay. So the other thing in OneNote, which I didn't talk about in this video, but I made another video for it. Someone had asked me recently if there was a way to fill out PDF documents in lieu of having Adobe Reader's like paid subscription where you can edit PDFs. It was actually Teresa, and it was in reference to job applications. So students with disabilities or have writing issues, you know, you get those job applications and the lines are like this small. And so not a lot of students can write on those. So I did some research in that, and I made another video about how you can do that in OneNote and make edits to fillable PDF things using the computer. So I will play that for you guys. This also goes over how to add files. You can store files in your OneNote notebooks as well. So here's a video on that.
One question I've had since my last video on OneNote is about PDFs and if there are ways to manipulate PDFs using OneNote. And there are a few things you can do. So I wanted to talk about that real quick. If you go to Insert, you have two options. You can either insert a file attachment or a file printout. File attachment puts a link to the actual file on your computer into your notebook. So if you needed a file in more than one place, that might be good. File printout actually puts, like it says, a printout of the actual file into your notebook. So instead of just that link, it will insert a printout of the file. So I'm going to show you what that looks like. The question I got about this was actually about job applications, and was there an easier way for students to fill out job applications, maybe if they didn't have the best penmanship or handwriting or something like that. And you can fill out PDFs with Adobe, but there's a cost for that license. So this is a way that you can maybe get around that and do something for free. So as you can see, doing that, inserting a file printout gave me my actual PDF here in my notebook. So from here, I have it where I can write on it, and I just want to make sure I am on draw and I'm using the type tool. And if you just go off to the side, you can then type whatever information you need and just bring it over to where you want it, and just make a new text box for each of the things you need. So from there, I'll just show you on like a print preview what that looks like. I'd have to go to the next page. You can see that they have a link to my file attachment there, but on page 2, this is kind of small, but hopefully you can see my file printout is there, and then my last name and first name are there. So if you just printed that, you would have a filled out PDF.
Okay, so if you had a worksheet or something that a student needed to fill out, you could scan that in and send it to yourself as a PDF from your school printer or scanner, and then put it into OneNote for students to work on with typing instead of writing. I use OneNote professionally, just as a side note. Like if I go to a conference, you know how they'll usually give you some app or some link to download handouts. And then it seems like those are like all over my computer or all over my iPad, whatever I'm using. So I will make a notebook for whatever conference I'm at, and then maybe do tabs for each session that I'm attending. And then I can put like the actual PDF of the notes in there, or the file link in there, and then take my own notes and highlight on those PDFs or do whatever. So I have found that that's a really nice way for me to keep myself organized if I'm doing some kind of professional development or something like that. Do you guys have any thoughts or comments or questions on any of those? No? Okay. I will pin myself back up here. So those are some great things, like I said, for Microsoft and Word, PowerPoint, OneNote. Those work in Outlook as well. All free. I just have to download them from the right spot and get them going. So some great tools for students there. The next thing I wanted to talk to you guys about was Google Chrome. I know a lot of schools are using Chromebooks for students and for their staff. So there's only one thing I recorded a video about in Chrome, but I think it's really cool. So I didn't want to overload you. There are extensions forever in Chrome. So one specific thing I wanted to show you guys in Chrome. Extensions, if you're not familiar with Chrome extensions, are extra things that you can put in to Google's Chrome browser. So you have to make sure that you're using the Google Chrome browser, which is this thing that looks like this circle with the green and red and yellow. If you don't have the Chrome browser on your computer, you can download it for free. If you just Google it, and you can get that for free. And then you will want to sign in with whatever you're using for Google with your school account. And from there to check and see what current extensions you have. I'll show you that actually. You click the 3 vertical dots up here, and then you go to More Tools and Extensions, and it will show you all of the extensions you have added in. So you can see what you have there. And then if you wanted to add more, you just go to the 3 bars here and open the Chrome Web Store. And then you can search for whatever extension it is you're looking for. When you have them installed on your browser, they show up here, like across here, so you can see shortcuts for my Chrome extensions up there. You can control what's up there by using these toggle buttons. So these blue things will take them off and on. So this G Suite training, you can see it disappears from up there, but if I turn that back on, it comes back. So that is how you would look at your extensions or get new extensions. Read and Write is the extension that I wanted to present to you guys and share with you guys. I think it has a lot of cool things, again, for students with reading and writing disabilities. It has both the text-to-speech and the speech-to-text, and it's just for use with your Google things. So if you're using things from your Google Drive, like Google Docs or Google Slides, you can use it on web pages, things like that. It is a subscription kind of service, and I think it's $100 a year. I think that's what I found anyways. But as an educator, you guys can get a free subscription. You just have to go, if you search for free subscription, Google Read and Write for Teachers, you can find that on the internet. So I will show you the video for that.
The Read and Write extension for Google Chrome is a pretty awesome tool for students of all ages. It has some basic things to help with students who have difficulty reading and writing, and then it also has some more complex things like for study tools and learning tools. I have up for an example here, just part of the Little Red Riding Hood story to show you some of the things it can do. So it will read out loud. So if students have trouble reading, you can highlight that and then push the play button.
One morning, Little Red Riding Hood asked her mother if
And it will do the text-to-speech feature. You can also, opposite of that, do a speech-to-text feature. So if I wanted to put something before this and say, Little Red Riding Hood lived in a village with her mother. There's what I added using the speech-to-text feature. You can also use, it has a prediction feature. So if I click on this thing that looks kind of like a magic crystal ball thing, it will give me some ideas for typing. So I could say they, and then I want the word lived, so I'll type in an L. There's lived in a small house. So if you have students who have some fatigue when writing or some motor things going on like that, it does have a really cool prediction feature. The other thing it has that I think is really cool is a built-in dictionary. So say you didn't know what the word village meant, and instead of going to the shelf and getting a dictionary, there is a built-in dictionary feature. It's the one that looks like a book right here. So you just put your cursor in a word that you want it to look up, and it will bring up various definitions of that. It also, if a student does have trouble reading, has a picture dictionary, which I think is pretty cool. And it's this thing that looks like a picture. So I'm still in the word village, and here are the symbols it brings up for village. So that's really helpful for students who maybe don't read as well or have trouble with vocabulary pieces of that. For reading, there is also a screen mask. So that's where it'll black out the rest of the screen and give you this highlighting area to help students stay on track with the lines they're reading. If you wanted to do something like maybe we are working on finding nouns and finding verbs or something, we can use different colors of highlighters. So Little Red Riding Hood is a person, I'll highlight that in yellow. Village is a place, I'll highlight that in yellow. Mother is also a person, so I highlight my nouns in yellow. Maybe I'm working on my, finding verbs. So I'm going to highlight those in pink. Here's lived. And then this arrow, these arrows in a circle, lets you collect the highlights. So you can pick which colors you want to select. So I'm going to say I used yellow and pink, and I want to collect all of those words that I highlighted into a separate document. So I tell it what I want and then say okay, and it creates a separate document. So if there was a student working on maybe some vocabulary words or key concepts or something like that, you could highlight bigger pieces of text and just pull those key points or those main things over into a separate document. So that's a pretty cool feature. I'm going to go ahead and clear those real quick. That's this little brush looking thing. There is also a vocabulary option. So this will also create a new document. So if you were working on some vocabulary from this story, it will make me a new list. in a new Google document, and it comes up with this, this format. So say my word that I'm working on is village. And like I showed you before, if I am in the word village and I go to the dictionary, I have my definition, so maybe I just copy that and paste that there. And then I also wanted that symbol because that would help me understand it more. You can go to the picture dictionary and copy the picture and paste it here. So you can make these really nice vocabulary lists from whatever you're working with to include the meaning right there from the dictionary and the symbol right there from the dictionary. So that's a great study tool. It also has some practice read aloud, which would be great for reading fluency. So if I am working on reading fluency skills, I can highlight the piece that I want to practice and click on this little guy that looks like he's reading a book. It'll take me to a website, and then it just lists the text that I had highlighted, and I can record myself reading it and then play it back. I can do that as many times as I want, and then I could share it with my teacher here. This thing that is the paper airplane that connects with Google Classroom. So if your students are set up with using Google Classroom, they can automatically send it to whoever the teacher is listed in there. So that's really neat. You just hit the microphone. Little Red Riding Hood lived in a village with her mother. They lived in a small house. Stop, I can play it back. Little Red Riding Hood lived in a village with her mother. And then again, if you use that paper airplane, you can send it. The student can send it to whoever their teacher is. I'm not hooked into Google Classroom right now, so that won't work, but just do know that it's there. So read and write, you can see here that I have 29 days left for the premium features. It is, I think, about $100 a year, but there is a free subscription for teachers. So there's information on the internet how to get the free subscription if you work in education. And you just have to sign up. They verify that whatever organization you're with is educationally based, and you can use all of those cool features for free.
Okay, so there's some information about that read and write piece. As an SLP, I love the vocabulary builder thing, where you can have the picture dictionary and have the regular dictionary and then make separate vocabulary lists. And you could copy and paste a lot of stuff into a Google Doc and do some language work and some vocabulary work. I also love the highlighters. I just think there are a ton of things you could do with those, whether that's, highlighting vocabulary words in yellow and supporting details in another color, and then you can pull only the yellow, or you can pull only the teal or whatever, or you can put them all together. And so that would be a great way to pare things down for kids who maybe need less information at one time. Does anybody have any questions, thoughts, or comments on that? No? Okay, so just a few more things. We're going to be done early, so that's awesome. I also wanted to point out just some other things that I use a lot in my Google Chrome extension life, things that I thought maybe you could find as useful for yourselves. This Google URL Shortener will give a shorter version of any website, so it's easier for students to go to. So I have pulled up the Scottsbluff Star Herald, and like in the web bar, if I wanted to share this with a student, like this is a whole lot of stuff and I would never expect them to type this in. But if I use my URL shortener, it's this thing, I don't know, that looks like a box with a green box in it. It will shorten a URL and give you this. So this short website, oops, I need to get all of it there. Shorter website will take you to the same story, but that's something you could share with students that would be way easier for them to write and to go to. So if I copy and paste that, it will take me to this same story. So easier way to share information with students. The other thing that one does, and unfortunately none of my coworkers who make fun of me for this are on here right now, is it will give you a QR code. So if you again go to that extension and click on QR code, it will give you this QR code, and then you can have students take a picture of that or scan that with, if they have a phone or a tablet or something, and it will take them to that website. So I have my phone right here. I'm going to get that in my lens, and then at the top it tells me website QR code, open in Safari. And if I click that, it will take me to that same Star Herald story there. So if you have students working with iPads or tablets or their phones or whatever, that's an easy way to get people to the same website or the same place. So you can share those by copying the image and then just pasting it into Word document, print it out, whatever, so you can get students or other professionals on the same page that way. The other one that I use a whole lot is Grammarly. And if you're not familiar with that, that's like spell check for your Google browser. So you know how spell check works in Word or PowerPoint or something, but Grammarly will work in websites just a lot of the same way. It works in the SRS text boxes, so you can spell check yourself in SRS. I will show you real quick what that looks like. If I go to ESU's website, maybe I'm going to search for something and I'm searching for like training, but I spell training wrong. It just underlines it just like spell check does in Microsoft Word, and you can right click and it gives you different options for fixing that. So Grammarly is also free. I use that one a lot. The other one is this Fire Shot. It looks like this. This lets you take screenshots of whole pages. So I love my snipping tool. If you guys aren't familiar with the snipping tool, it's this thing that looks like scissors here, and it lets you take, turn anything into a picture to use, to copy and paste wherever you want. But the problem with that is that you can only grab what you can see on your screen here. So if I wanted to take a screenshot of this whole story for some reason, I wouldn't be able to do that using the built-in snipping tool. So you can use the Fire Shot option instead, and it's this thing that looks like an S here, and it gives you the option to capture the entire page, just the part that's visual or that's visible to you, or a selection. So I can capture the entire page of this story. And it will bring it up, and then I have this whole page as a screenshot, as a picture. Instead of just using like Control Print Screen or using the snipping tool, you can get bigger parts of stuff that way. So that's another one I use a lot. All three of those are free. So again, you can get those if you go to the Chrome Web Store and install them as extensions. Any thoughts or questions on those? No? Okay, so I just wanted to give you guys some other resources, and then we'll be pretty much done. These are just some websites that you might find useful if you're looking for technology kinds of things. Shelly Haven has a tech toolbox that I like. There are a ton of different programs, different apps, different things like that. So you can find what you're looking for. So if you're wanting audiobooks, you're wanting text to speech, you're wanting read and write studying, and then she goes through all of these different programs for various things you might be looking for. So that's an awesome one. There are a ton of really good programs and resources on there. I'll direct you there if you're looking for things. Same thing with Jamie Martin's Assistive Tech Toolbox. She breaks hers down more into things that you can use on your desktop or things on the internet, Chrome apps, iOS apps, which would be for your iPad, or Android apps, which would be for like a Samsung tablet or a Windows tablet. So just for example, if I was looking at iOS apps and I'm looking for reading and literature, here are a bunch of apps she recommends. If I'm looking for study tools, here are a bunch of apps she recommends. So Obviously, we can't go over all of those, but I would encourage you to check out those two websites if you're looking for more specific kinds of things. Lots of good resources there. OCALI, which is the Ohio Center for Autism and Low Incidence Populations, has this program called SIFS, and it stands for Student Inventory for Technology Supports. And you can use this if you are not sure, like you know a student needs something, but you're not sure what they need. You can use this as a resource. You have to make an account, it's free. And then you accept their terms and conditions. But then you can add students and go through different things that you are wanting to do with them. So student 4 is whoever, and I am concerned about student 4's physical access for computers. You can create a profile, and then it will go through and have you select statements about the student. So they can use their voice clearly, but hard time using a keyboard or mouse because of motor control. And then you can just select different things about the student, and then decide, you know, is it true, is it not true? And then at the end, it will bring up some suggestions for you. So I'm just gonna go through and pick some random things real quick, and we'll see. And then you can download the considerations it gives you. So consider voice recognition. Have the following: 4th grade reading level, ability to multitask, things like that. Other ones I've done, so let's just look at like student 3, for example. View my history. So I said this student had trouble with organization and planning, and I went through and answered all of those questions, and then it came up with feature considerations. So to help them with self-organizations, try checklist, consider a sensory assessment, use first then cards, use mobile supports, use reminders, use rubrics. So if you go through and answer all of those about your students, it will give you suggestions in each of the categories that you're looking at. And then not only does it give you a suggestion, but it gives you more information on it. So here's more about checklists, and here's some supports, and here's a picture of what checklists look like. So a lot of different options there. This is something that's an ongoing project, something they're working on. So you can see they just added physical access for mobile devices in March of this year. So they are continually adding things for that, but I like that if you know you need something, but you're just not sure what it is, and it gives you some good suggestions. The last ones, ATP Nebraska, you guys all know that they reorganized that, and Phyllis has retired and they didn't replace her, so I wanted to direct you to how you get assistive technology support now that we can't just email Phyllis anymore. But atpnebraska.gov, you can go to their services at school website. It lists what they do, and then you can request services, which takes you to a website with their request form. So you just fill in all that information, and it gets sent to the state people. When I met with the director recently, she said there is somebody in Kearney that is able to come our way and provide supports if they get requests. So if you need help, that's the new way we request that. I wanted to share that with you. And then the last thing is the AT for All website, which is the state's loan pool for assistive technology devices. So if you haven't used this before, you make a free account, and then you can search for whatever you're looking for. So if I'm looking for maybe a different keyboard for a student who is having trouble using a standard keyboard, you can just search for keyboard. And then it just lists all of the things that are in the loan pool that you can borrow. You submit a request, they send it out to you, you get it for 2 weeks, or you can email them if you need it longer. Try it out, and then you can go from there. And that is all the information I have for you guys. Do you have questions or comments or anything, I can stay on afterward.
When will this be available for view? Do you know?
So I'm recording it now, and then Pam will upload it to our ESU website. Maybe a week or so for us to coordinate. She has to come get on my computer and get it from there and stuff. Do you guys know where those are located? Up where those are?
I am not sure. They talked about it last year, but I haven't ever tried to get to it. So
Okay, I will show you and anybody else right now. So if you just go to our ESU website, and then loading, maybe, go to departments and special services. They will all be right down here. Actually, they're at the bottom of the page. So there's the two that we've done so far. I know Ashley did.
great, thank you.
Yeah,
That's
Ashley,
awesome.
yeah, Ashley's one from last week, it doesn't look like is up there yet. So maybe a week, 10 days or so. But yeah, they're just there. There. So that's where those are. And lastly, here are the videos I recorded. So those are on my YouTube channel. So if you didn't want to go back and listen to this whole thing again and search for what you were looking for, you can directly access those videos on Speak and Dictation and OneNote PDFs and the Chrome Read and Write at these Google links here. So those are, I use my Google URL Shortener to make those actually. So those are nice and easy for you guys to get to. So here's my email. You guys, I see who's on and you guys all know how to get a hold of me, but I am going to make like a PDF printout of this presentation so you guys have that link. I will send it to the three of you that are joining me. Is there anything else, any other resources you saw here that would be helpful if I sent to anybody? No? Okay, so I will just plan to put the presentation into a PDF document and send it out to the three of you. If nobody has any other questions, I will stop recording and sign off, and thanks for joining me.
Thanks so much.
Hey, Jessica, I do have a question on the OneNote.